welcome back. Oh man, today, in the past, we have taken you overseas for this show. We have taken you across the states. Now we are going to take you through the ages for this one. My name is Vin Dacquino. Our guest is Alexandra Morris, who is, believe it or not, a specialist. She deals in ancient disabilities. Alexandra, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, what is a disabilities specialist? Ancient studies?
It's kind of my own thing that I put together because as far as I know, I'm the first person who's doing this in the way that I'm doing it. My background is in archaeology, anthropology, and art history, and Egyptology.
I can't even spell those things.
I know. And I became interested initially in Egyptology when I was very little. I was the kid who was like in first grade when everybody else was doing Clifford, was looking at mummies. And it wasn't until grad school that I became interested in the disabilities aspect of that. And what I study exactly is those who were disabled in the ancient past and how society
So you're
treated
talking
them.
about physical disabilities?
Physical, mental, anything
Educational?
anything I can find.
Wow. So it's how they handled those disabilities all those years ago?
In a certain way, yes, and how they were treated by society.
Wow. So I imagine they were ostracized.
Not necessarily the case. My background primarily right now is in Egypt and Greece. In Egypt, I have found that that was not really the case. There is artwork that shows the disabled with their families. There's a statue of Seneb. His name is Seneb. It's from the 5th dynasty BC. He had dwarfism. It shows him sitting with his wife and children. His wife has her arm around him, and his children are in the place ceremonially where his legs would have been had he been full-sized. And instead the artist has him sitting cross-legged with them beneath him. And Seneb in ancient Egyptian means healthy, so that's his name.
Wow, that's amazing. So not only did they accept him for his disability, they accepted him as an equal.
Pretty much, yes.
Wow.
And he was a high court official under the kings of the time.
Wow.
So
that's a great find. And wish we could learn a lesson from that, because people with disabilities today are not always treated fairly or equally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an amazing example. Do you have other examples?
Yes, actually, and this is perhaps the most famous pharaoh from ancient Egypt, Tutankhamun, is now believed to have had clubfoot.
Really?
Yes, and his tomb, by current research where I am at now, this is actually in peer review right now, is his tomb was set up so it was accessible for him.
Wow. So they actually took care or gave attention to his disability, not only for now, but for eternity.
Pretty much. I mean, he was buried with 130 walking sticks.
130 walking sticks.
Multiple pairs of underwear. There might have been an issue going on with that.
Yeah, really.
But it was 10 like everyday clothes and like over 100 pairs of underwear.
That is weird,
yes,
but amazing.
Yes, and I'm trying to think what else.
So
and
the Egyptians were ahead of us in so many ways. I mean, we're still trying to figure out these pyramids.
Yes.
And yet they had an understanding for disabilities.
Yes.
And they were able to look above them.
Pretty much from what I've found in the artwork at least, and also in textual evidence, because there's also evidence of there being, let's say, blind harpists. So they trained people who were blind to do stuff that they could do. I also have evidence of, I'm trying to remember, scoliosis.
Oh,
Individuals with
wow.
scoliosis, individuals with clubfoot, not just Tutankhamun. The pharaoh Siptah, who ruled actually the dynasty after Tutankhamun, so that would be during the 19th dynasty, is believed to have had cerebral palsy.
And despite the fact that he had cerebral palsy, he was able to be successful.
Yes.
Wow. So you had to go through all these paintings and drawings and try to figure all this out?
Pretty much, yes.
Whoa. That's
And
amazing.
what started
Makes me feel guilty that I spent last night watching the Yankee game.
It's all right. What started it for me in grad school, I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and they have on display in their museum a mummy who does not have a name, but one leg of his is like 5 inches shorter than the other one, and he was buried with his cane.
Wow. That's amazing. You know, that says an awful lot because they were firm believers in the afterlife.
Yes.
So in order, I mean, for them to have so much respect for disabilities, to be sure that the person would be able to overcome his disability in the afterlife, it's so considerate.
Yes,
you know? It really is. It's just plain considerate.
Yes.
That is amazing. So that's Egypt.
Yes.
Now you also worked with other.
I've also done Greece, and that's actually also currently where I'm at. And Greece appears to be more mixed from what I've found so far. I focused mainly on ancient Macedonia, but I do know some other bits. Another historical figure, Alexander the Great, he had an older half-brother, Philip Aridaeus, who was believed to have had some kind of mental disability.
Mental disability, wow.
Yes, but despite that,
Alexander the Great was pretty great.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
Yes.
Pretty scary in a lot of ways too. But so he may have had an older brother.
Half-brother who had some kind of mental disability. There's a debate among the ancient texts what exactly it is. Some say epilepsy and a combination of low IQ. It depends, but either way, he ruled for 7 years after Alexander the Great died.
He ruled.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's scary too.
Yes, and Alexander basically loved him enough to keep him alive because when he came to power, he basically killed off anyone who could potentially be a political rival.
Wow.
In his family,
And
Aridaeus survived.
He was spared despite a disability.
Yeah.
So whatever that disability was, it couldn't have been too bad because he ruled for what, 7 years?
Yes.
Holy cow. So whatever that was, he overcame it.
Yes.
So it's a lesson to be learned, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So now, so you go in and you just dig and dig and dig to try to find all these things. Will you eventually be writing some kind of book or something?
That is my goal. I'm looking for doctoral programs right now. Part of the problem with what I'm doing and being the first person doing it is that there is not a lot of interest in it, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So
you're going to have to create that interest.
Basically. I mean, I do have some stuff published already.
Well, here's the good news.
Yeah.
We're living at a time of tolerance, diversification. Mm-hmm. We're living at a time when people need to be accepted for who and what they are, despite any differences from other people. Mm-hmm. So it's a good time for you because if you can reach back into the past and show us the path to a better future, you'll be doing a wonderful thing for us. Mm-hmm. So I think this idea of putting all of that together is good stuff. Mm-hmm. So now you've worked with Egypt. Are you going to keep digging? I mean, where do you go? I mean, you're not going to find these in the local library.
No, but you can find stuff in local museums. I've been through the Metropolitan Museum of Art galleries pretty much extensively. There are currently 215 artifacts that are related to disability on display in the ancient Greek Roman, and Egyptian galleries that I found so far.
Wow. So the Greeks were in on this too, huh?
Yes.
You have any Greek examples?
Well, besides Philiberideus,
Yeah.
there seems to be, when you think of Sparta, right, you think
Right.
automatically they killed deformed infants. This
Yeah.
is not necessarily the case from what I've found, because there is no archaeological evidence to back this up. They haven't found anything.
Wow.
And
So somebody made that up?
it
Maybe.
was
Or
it was some ancient I can't remember the name right now. It was a certain ancient historian who said it, and he was the only example that we have of this. And they also had a king with clubfoot again.
wow.
His name was Agesilaus II.
Wow. And he rose to power.
Yes.
Holy. That's good news.
Yes.
That's all good news. So your goal is to try to help us be aware
Yes.
of our differences
Yes.
and how to deal with them. I wrote a book on diabetes in the 80s. And one of the things that the doctor says to the boy when he says, well, I don't want diabetes and I don't want to be different. And she said, Jimmy, everybody is different in some way, shape, or form. You have got to learn how to deal with your differences and make those differences important. So that's what you're saying in all of this?
Pretty much, and it's also, with society the way it is now, I don't know whether it's intentional or not. There is the definite undercurrent currently of you should be grateful for what you have because things were so much worse in the past. But
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true. That kind of puts that all on
Right.
its head,
So you're trying to put meaning into our past.
pretty much.
Another famous Dacquinoism is that if we do not teach the children of today about their yesterday, we are going to steal from their tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that is true. And going back and looking at people with disabilities is so unique to me. I was so thrilled to have you as a guest because people don't think that way. And it's so important that we learn from our past, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And to go back and cite specific examples of people with disabilities who were not only treated equally, but became superior and became rulers
Yeah.
and changed the world. I think of as a kid, and this is going to sound a little weird to you, but I'm a little weird anyway. But the leper colonies, and I thought of how people with leprosy were sent to an island, and they stuck them all together to
Yeah.
die together, instead of trying to find ways to cure them. And yet there were people who were brave enough to go there and ended up giving their lives to try to help these people. We cannot give up on people with disabilities. We cannot give up on people who are different in any way. And we know that it'll come back to bite us. Slavery came back to bite us. So did so many other things. That we finally, after a long time, learned that there's ways to do it. Now, have you been dealing with modern disabilities, or you're doing it through the back door?
It's kind of a combination at this point. I have cerebral palsy myself.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So you're working through that disability to obviously be above others. That's amazing.
Yeah.
When did your interest in all of this begin? Were you born an anthropologist?
It kind of seems that way, yes. As I said, basically from like the time I could read, I was drawn to Egypt.
Wow. Egypt is a fascinating
I know.
place.
Yeah. And the disabilities aspect didn't occur to me until grad school, as I said. And the reason why that happened was not only that nameless mummy that I saw, but also because I was in a situation where I was not being treated very well.
Yeah.
Because
and you had to show that there were people with disabilities
Yeah.
who, when treated well, did well.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Alexandra, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need today. We need to be able to show what could happen if you give people a chance
Yeah.
to be who they are.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about. So you're fighting through this.
Yes.
And hours of reading, yes?
Yes.
Oh my God, I could imagine. When I was doing Sybil Luddington and I was doing some of the investigation that's involved and going through and all the reading, and then, I mean, not only do you have to read the stuff, you have to find the stuff to read it. And then you're doing it through paintings too,
Yeah.
which is fascinating.
Artwork, text.
So
yeah.
what do? You find a painting and then you begin researching it?
Pretty much, yes. Or sometimes, like, basically first happen with the Met is you kind of go through and you just happen to see something and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right.
Wow, that's got to be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that, too, when I was doing Sybil, you go through, and Sybil had five children. Or she didn't have 5 children, she didn't have 6 children, she had but 1 child. Well, when I actually did the research and finally realized, you know what? History is wrong. She did not have those children.
Huh.
And it was so exciting. So it must have been so exciting for you, when you pick up a painting and you look at it and you go, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wow. So now you're not done, right?
No.
No.
I'm
So
not.
there's still a lot more that you're going to put together.
Yes. I mean, what I'm currently trying to write a book chapter on now that will get published hopefully is I'm looking at ancient Greek myths as related to the Iliad and historical figures that are related to that, and trying to find instances of mental illness linked to sexuality.
I'm going to say it again. Brilliant. You tried paintings, and
Yeah.
now you're going to go to literature.
Yes.
And you'll find it in the literature.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, because the literature will give you hints about, there must be tales about people who had disabilities in some of that literature. Do you have an example of any yet?
What I have so far is, and this is all, I'm trying to explore mental illness at currently, is you have, like, let's say the example of the myth of Heracles, where he was driven mad by Hera and killed his family.
Wow.
You have the Maenads, who were Dionysus's followers, who would go ritually mad to worship him. You have, to a certain extent, Alexander the Great again.
Yeah.
Towards the end of his life, went.
Wow. So
So-
all right. So through art and literature.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk to me about where you are in your life right now.
Okay.
Now, you're getting ready to do a doctorate?
I'm trying.
Wow. Yeah, tough. So you're in school right now?
I actually just recently graduated with my second master's degree. That was in museum studies. I'm trying to find
Wow.
work currently.
Yeah, not easy.
No.
You,
And then-
you might be able to redo the Sphinx or something.
I know. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm
You'd
at.
get a job in Egypt.
I know.
It sounds amazing. So you hear that out there? This brilliant woman is looking for a job.
Yes.
Come on, you museum curator. Jump on this wagon here.
Yes. So we'll see.
Sounds terrific.
We'll see.
Yeah, so is that what you're looking for? Something in a museum maybe? Or?
That's where I'm looking
Yeah.
currently in the museum
Wow,
sector. I've
wow.
had some interviews, but nothing's happened yet. So hopefully
Oh,
soon.
that would be wonderful. Can you imagine if you could get, some kind of job, and even like, what about these museums, the libraries in these museums?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Well, we certainly wish you luck. I hope you're watching out there wherever you are. So, where in terms of the book do you think you are?
in terms of the
Are we going to have it sometime in the future?
probably yes. I'm working on
Good.
several projects currently
Yeah.
at the same time, and it's just a question of what gets done first.
Right, right. And they have to put this all together.
Yeah.
Some of our audience is made up of writers.
Yes.
And these are people who have discovered wonderful things and they want to share it. And they write about it. Do you have a particular time that you write, a way that you write? Do you walk around with a laptop under your arm, a pad and pencil? What do you do?
It's a combination of stuff tends to hit me in bursts.
Yep.
So
Sound like a writer.
yes, pretty much. So I can go through periods where I just write pages and pages, and then
Yep.
periods where
Been there,
there's
done that.
nothing happens.
Yeah, and then it just happens. So,
Yeah.
so there's a gathering. I call it when people say to me, "Hey, how do you write these nonfiction books?"
Yeah.
And I say, my first stage is what I call the gathering. And what I do is I just go out there and I just try to gather as much information as I can. And I very seldom write during that period. I take notes,
Yeah.
but I don't write as such. And I had a cardboard box when I did the Sybil Ludington
Yeah.
book, you know, and every time I heard about the ride, I put that in a folder. When I heard about
Yep.
before the ride, I put that in a folder. After the ride, I put that in a folder.
Yep.
And then the folders just got bigger, and then they found ways to divide. Like I can imagine you have like
Yeah.
physical disabilities of Egypt,
Yes.
mental disabilities,
Yes.
educational disabilities.
Yes.
So that's how that works. Now, do you have a filing cabinet that you keep, or?
We have several folders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I could imagine too. And keeping all that together, are you an organized person?
It depends. I can
Me
be
too.
I can be over organized, or I can
Yeah.
just be
People
not
say
at
to
all.
me, "Do you know where all your notes are?" I say, "Yeah, I do, in my room."
Yeah.
Where in the room? Well,
Yeah.
That could be questionable. Yeah, it's there has to be some form of organization
Yes.
that you put all of this together in.
Yeah.
So, what are you in the middle of right now?
Okay, what I currently have going on is the thing on madness and sexuality, which I had talked to you about. I'm working on a children's book
A children's book.
on disabilities in ancient Egypt.
Will it contain pictures?
Hopefully, yes.
Brilliant.
Yes.
That's a great idea to actually introduce children
Yes.
to ancient civilizations
Yes.
in terms of disabilities.
Yes.
That's wild because people with disabilities, children with disabilities,
Yeah.
can be inspired
Yes.
by people who lived hundreds of years before them.
Yeah.
Oh, Alexandra, that's a great idea.
And
So, do you have things together already with that?
with that, I have like the first couple of drafts of the text done. I'm trying to get it down to like a 6th grade reading level and not up at the higher level that I'm used to writing at.
Yeah, that's right. You have to make it accessible
Yes.
to young children.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, that's good stuff. And I'm sure that there's publishers out there. Writers say to me, who would publish this stuff? And I say, go to Barnes & Noble
Yeah.
or go to the library, find a book that's similar to what you're trying to do,
And
look up the publisher, and then contact that publisher.
yes.
And I would guess that there are some publishers out there who are going to say, whoa, that's a great idea. So it sounds good. So now you're putting all that together,
Yes.
and you're still looking for a job.
Yes.
That's, I imagine, a big step.
Yes.
And you're still messing around with civilizations.
Yes.
Any new things? Any new developments that you've run across that where you say, "Oh my God, this is going to take forever," but what a great idea! I'm looking for your revelations.
I'm trying to think.
Yep.
Basically, the thing that's going to take a while, and I know this, is getting the archaeological and historical communities to accept the stuff, because I've encountered a lot of pushback, which I did not expect initially.
Yeah. Why are you getting the pushback? What is it from?
I'm not really sure,
Yeah,
besides
I
the
can
fact that the
imagine.
stuff has always been there and nobody's noticed it. So
Right. Well, you know
it's-
what? What you're doing is a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. Keep doing those things. Keep fighting for it. Fight for what you believe in. Overcome any differences that you have. Stay healthy. Stay sharp. Stay focused, because I believe that we're going to be seeing you again to congratulate you on your Pulitzer. You, you keep doing what you're doing. I think it's a very worthy project. Take it from here. Any final words for people? Believe it or not, we're like about 2 minutes away, maybe a minute away.
I do think it is important to have, as you said, role models. I had basically no disabled role models growing up.
Wow.
And to
And be a
have
role
that,
model.
and to have that, yeah. And not only that, but this is also your history in a way.
Well said.
I mean, history has been traditionally told from an able-bodied perspective, and that's not necessarily right or correct, and it needs to be changed.
We must believe in our past, but these are the days of your life. Make them count. We need to help all those around us. We need to learn from our differences and make them matter.
Thank you very
Alexandra,
much.
a pleasure to have you here. I wish you all the success in the world. I hope someone out there heard what you had to say today, and I hope this project does what it's meant to do. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for being one-on-one with Alexandra Morris, hopefully to be Dr.